Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to another Mechabellum video. I've got a very interesting showcase for you today as a new unit has been added to the game, the WRAITH, a heavy aircraft. In this video I would like to go over some of its stats, the unit modifications that are available to it, and then I want to showcase some gameplay in 2 replays that I have for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here it is, the new unit, the WRAITH. It very much looks like a UFO or a flying saucer or anything of that kind, but I have to say Paradox did a wonderful job on this unit. It looks amazing. I really like it. It is unlike any other unit that we have in the game, and that also holds true with regards to cost and size. It is the very first unit that comes in at 300 credits. And it is also the very first unit that is a 3x3, so sitting somewhere between Hacker Rhinos and Giants. Is it any good though? Is it any good? If we immediately look at some of the stats, it has some resemblance to the Overlord, especially with regards to HP and speed. This is virtually the same on an Overlord, right? Both about 15.5k hit points and both have the same movement speed at 10 meters a second. However, that is also where some of the similarities stop, because the WRAITH only has 50 base meters of range. That is very, very short. This is the same as Wasps. And if there is one thing that we know about Wasps is that they like to die. Now that isn't so much of a problem if you want to use them as chaff or as a distraction, but you don't want to use the WRAITH as your chaff. It is relatively expensive, so you want to make most of those spent credits. And this is immediately where I will say this is probably a unit that shines most in defensive situations, because offensively it lacks the speed, it lacks the range to properly get in range of the enemy units, and so it will struggle to dish out damage. And that is actually what it's pretty good at. It has pretty good attack, pretty good attack interval. It has 4 separate cannons that basically float around the WRAITH and that target anything within range. But yeah, you have to make sure that they can actually do their job. So how can you help it in that regard? What tech configurations are available to you? There are 2 new ones which aren't on any other unit so far. The first being floating artillery array. This increases the amount of floating cannons from 4 to 8, so it doubles the DPM, basically. But the movement speed is reduced by 3, so again, this will struggle in offensive situations, even though that your DPS is very good, unless your opponent is on the line. If your opponent is playing standard, this thing will be too slow probably to do any meaningful damage in an offensive situation. So this is probably something that you want to use defensively if you're being rushed. Now, there is range enhancement, so that might help a little bit, but still you would go from 50 range to 90 range. It is still less than the base range on things like Overlords, Phoenixes, especially things like Marksman. Yeah, it's not wonderful, right? Armor enhancement, I mean, this is just a pretty standard upgrade. There is field maintenance and high explosive ammo as well. These are basically exactly what you expect them to be. And then there is the most interesting tech upgrade, and probably the best one. Degenerate Beam. Yes, that is exactly what it's called. It also raised my eyebrows a little bit when I first read it, but this is what it is. What does it do? It projects a beam to the enemy ground units within a range of 120 meters. So already, this is great, right? 120 meters, that is much more than 50. So you get far more effectiveness out of this tech upgrade. The affected enemy units, movement speed is reduced by 40%, the attack power is reduced by 30%, and they take an additional 30% damage when attacked. Defensively, this is very, very good. If you're getting rushed by balls and crawlers, by rhino crawlers, by rhinos with fangs, this slows them down. This gives you and buys you the time that you need to take care of the enemy push. Now, When I do say this, it holds true only for ground units. First of all, air units are not affected by this tech upgrade. Second of all, photon coating has been changed. What has been changed? Well, it now not only protects the affected units against electromagnetic ignition and acid, it also protects them from the effects of degenerate beam. That means as soon as a Rhino techs this, or as soon as you have photon coating overlords, all of the units that are coated will no longer be slowed, will no longer take extra damage, will no longer have debuffed attack. So photon is a very valuable tech now, especially for aggressive setups, even more than it used to be, because it already was something that was being used frequently, if not in many games that use aggressive setups. But still, I think Degenerate Beam is very interesting from a defensive standpoint. It might have some effects aggressively, because of course the 120 meter range, that reaches like almost up to the turret, so anything that stands in front of that of the turret will get debuffed, which might make it easier for your push to, well, to make its way towards the enemy towers. But I do think that, you know, you also get the slow, which can be very, very beneficial into pushes. Now, that being said, what do I think are its counters? I've watched some people play this, and honestly, Phoenixes seem to be the #1 counter. They outrange them heavily. They are very good at dealing at single targets with relatively high health. That is exactly what the Wraith is. So every time I've seen this played, every time that especially people have tried to play this aggressively, Phoenixes just demolish Wraiths. Other things that are pretty powerful are Marksman, of course, because of the high range. And Mustangs seem to be pretty good also. Of course, you do have armor enhancement, but it can be hard to tech this because usually you will want Degenerate Beam, and then, you know, you have to weigh whether or not you want to invest another tech upgrade into armor enhancement, because your opponent could just buy Phoenixes, right? So yeah, comps like Vulcan, Phoenix, Mustang seem to be doing very well against at least aggressive Wraith pushes. And the same can be said for aggressive pushes like Rhinos. If they tech Photon relatively early, that seems to, well, kind of turn the tables again. Enough chit chat though. Let's see what this looks like in practice. I have 2 games for you guys. The first one is between Armeria and Mungst, and the second one is between a strong player from the Asian server and a game Anx. So, well, let's see. Let's go to Armeria and Mungst first. We will join this game in round number 3, so I'll pause for a second so that we can have a quick look at what is going on. So, Armeria is on the bottom, defending against an aggressive push by Mungst with Steel Balls, Crawlers, and both players have got Wraith. Mungst has just decided to upgrade his Wraith, which is already level 2 with the Haste module, so that kind of negates the whole slow aspect of this unit, and has Degenerate Beam. So this is the offensive, I guess, option with Degenerate Beam, which will slow, debuff the targets on Armeria's side, which are on the ground. Armeria is trying to defend here with Phoenixes, has got some Stormcallers, Crawlers, and Arclights. So, let's have a look at how this plays out. There's a Wraith on the side of Armeria as well, by the way, but that one doesn't have any upgrades and is still level 1. As you can see, you have the independent floating guns here, and it is a pretty cool animation, I have to say, with this raid. This really like strengthens the whole UFO image that this unit has. Wraiths on both sides, by the way. Top on damage this round. I say that, but that's not entirely true. Second on damage on the side of Armeria. Let's speed things up a little bit. As the units on both sides are trying to get the towers first. Although this round should go to Armeria. Level 2, but very low hit point. Ooh, just about. Very close round. Very close round there. Oh, that was very fast. Okay, let's have a quick look at what happened there. More wraiths have been added. No flanks on both sides, and Armeria deciding to go for range, where Mungst again still has the degenerate beams. His level 2 wraith has been upgraded now to level 3. Wraith here on the side, slowly making its way towards the tower. And this is an absolute saucer fight. But Mungst here with a convincing round. Wraith's too strong. Both players deciding to pick up Missile Strike. Trying to get rid of some of these crawlers. On this side, targeting Phoenixes as well as Stormcallers. Armeria does have jump drive, so could predict this and move his Phoenixes around a little. Floating Artillery Ray has now also been picked up for Armeria. So this is where you can see his Wraiths have got 8 floating cannons. And this is looking a lot closer right now. Some Phoenixes still alive, and they do a good job of dealing with these usually. Tower debuff though means that these Phoenixes will die, and then it's just going to be up to this Wraith over here to try and deal with all of these units. Will it be able to do so? It is at relatively high health and does have the range advantage. Wraith's also sitting below half health, so maybe there's a chance. Oh, good tower debuff. Crawlers really helping out, and that should mean that Armeria is able to take this. This game is very odd, I have to say. Units kind of running past one another. There's a big fight happening in the middle between all of these UFOs. And yeah, that is Armeria taking the round. And let's see what both players decide to pick up. Redeployment for Armeria and Shield picked up for Mungst. Going for some shielded steel balls. Steel balls have mechanical division, by the way, so creating some more crawlers, trying to annoy these ground units, and perhaps distract Phoenixes, Wraiths, Stormcallers, so that the Wraiths can kind of do their thing and dish out damage. More Wraiths picked up. And one on the flank. This one has been redeployed. Level 3 Wraith on the flank with range. Let's see how good it is, because it is relatively slow. And, I mean, 90 range is better than 50, but it's nothing to brag about, really. Mustangs now being added for Mungst, and immediately going for high explosive ammo, because on the other side we have shielded Fangs. And here you have to wonder how good the degenerate beam is, because Armeria has kind of shifted his units towards, well, the air, so the degenerate beam has got no effect. And the Wraiths can just dish out the damage. Flank came in at a pretty good time, honestly. And this is looking like a very convincing round for Armeria. You have to keep in mind that these actually do deal quite a bit of damage. They're not quite giants, but 4 of them surviving, that is a lot of damage. That is 1200 damage just from the Wraiths alone. Monks here deciding to skip, and Armeria going for Missile Device Specialist. And they do seem to level quite quickly, these Wraiths, I have to say. In most of the games I've seen so far, they actually deal good damage. And so they tend to get a lot of the XP. So often they will be able to level up rapidly. More Wraiths being picked up. Monk's now also deciding to go for range. Doesn't like the disadvantage that his UFOs have compared to Armeria. But unfortunately, Armeria also has double the cannons. And it looks like double the Wraiths now as well. Decided to move his Wraith back to the main army, by the way. This would have worked, but I mean, it just looks like this is an absolute slaughter right now for Armeria. Although I say that, right side is losing. Right side is losing, but with how slow these are, I don't think they'll be able to get in range of these Wraiths. So the tower debuff is, I mean, it's nice, but I don't think it'll do too much. And now we have the tower debuff on the other side, and that will spell the end of this game, and Armeria will take the win. Very, very cool. There we go. There we go. So that was the first game I wanted to showcase. We had to join in a little bit late into the round, but I thought this was nice to show because well, you have a lot of upgrades, you have many Wraiths. It just kind of showcases the unit in all of its glory. And then the second game is more of a standard game, and perhaps something that you might see being used against Russians. So in this game we have a game Anx, who will be on the red side playing against this player from the Asian server, who will be on the blue side. Blue decides to go for cost control specialists, starting out with crawlers and stormcallers, and on the other side we have a rhino spec for red with crawlers and steel balls. Now this likely will be an aggressive push for red, especially into cost control. Interesting setup though, I have to say. Not going with the classic crawler and then balls behind the crawlers. Deciding to put the balls on the line pretty much. And adding some arc lights to deal with the expected crawlers. Blue going for the same. Stormcallers here will likely struggle a little bit because of the crawlers being so close, and although they are good versus steel balls have so little range that they can actually get under the gun line, and when that happens they're safe. So red here will take the first round, kind of expected from the aggressive setup, and especially against cost control on round number 1. Red going for strike specialist. This is a very powerful card, especially if you go aggressive. Using the flanks can be very beneficial, especially to just you know, draw away some of the chaff and allow your units to get to the tower quicker. And already here, blue pulling out the Wraith. Relatively big investment. But let's see if it works out. Let's see how it works out. Missile device spec, by the way, was picked up by blue and decides to missile the steel balls that are, well, on the line with no protection at all. So these will die, even though that they managed to level after the first round. Those missiles now deal 15,000 damage. 2 arlets on the sides, as I said, trying to pull away the chaff and open up the way for the main units. Although on this side, poor steel balls got one shot by the missile sentry. And over here we have the Wraith doing its thing, already top on damage in the round, and no anti-air on the side of red, so this will be a default win. And as you can see, if it can just float above and deal damage, man, it is pretty strong. That is 34,000 damage in one round. So blue immediately striking back, using the additional credits from cost control here to be able to unlock the heavy aircraft immediately. Red going for speed spec makes complete sense, especially going aggressively like this. Speed is definitely beneficial, might even dodge a couple extra missiles. And going for wasps. So this is a ball wasp type of game. Interesting. More wraiths being picked up. And will we see another upgrade as well? Degenerate beam, yep, there it is. So this is what I was expecting. Using the degenerate beam tech to slow down these type of aggressive pushes. And it is relatively cheap, you know, 200 is not expensive for a tech upgrade. Especially one that is this valuable, or provides this type of valuable stats against pushes. Wasps here kind of struggling. They have the same range as the Wraiths, so yeah. I mean, it's as if they were facing an Overlord, basically. So without any upgrades, Wasps not really able to do much there. And the round goes to blue again, and that damage is starting to tick. That is 600 damage a round just from the Wraiths surviving alone, and then all of the other units as well. It's adding up. It's adding up. Round number 4. Intensive training picked up on the side of blue. And what will red do here? Intensive training as well, okay. Arclight on the flank has been sold. I mean, it got answered pretty well, so no point in keeping it around. Rhino is now available, by the way, for red. And even more wasps picked up. Will we see an upgrade as well? No, doesn't have the money for it. Another saucer. All those ground units will not have a good time. And that includes the Rhino for now. No photon coating. Tries to go straight for the tower, but will get slowed. On this side, again, going for the sentry missile to delete the steel balls. But red deciding to link the balls, which means that they will survive, although losing 75% of their hit points still. And I mean, look at this. Rhino only going at 11.4 meters a second with that debuff. And it looks like the additional damage especially is just making things so much easier to deal with level 2 Rhinos, which honestly, even on round 4, can sometimes be a pain. And wow, I mean, look at that damage. Again, the Wraiths surviving. 900 damage plus some of the other units. This is going fast. This is going very fast. And red now deciding to go for aerial spec. Makes sense considering the 4 packs of wasps. But will it be enough? is the question. Will it be enough? All of the wraiths are now level 2. And I mean, the slow has also enabled the Stormcallers to do damage, right? Like, if we look at the damage here, Allied top 2, so second in damage overall this game, second last round. And then this Wraith behind it is the number 1. It's a really good synergy, defensively speaking. Red deciding to go for HE Stormcallers. I guess trying to get rid of the crawlers a bit better. On this side, we just have triple crawlers picked up. Quadruple crawlers even, I think. With cost control and deployment spec. Oh. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure that there was more to this game, but the replay doesn't show it. Because of the forfeit. But suffice to say that this defense was successful. And yeah, I mean, it just showcases how powerful this can be. And that is just a round 5 win against an aggressive setup. If these can stay alive, they DPS well. They really do. And they are relatively tanky. At least tanky enough to deal with wasps. I definitely think if those were like phoenixes or whatever, it could have been a different story. And some other factors here were playing that, you know, made this push difficult. But it showcases some of the potential for the Wraith. And yeah, I hope this gives you some good ideas. I'll be very keen to test this out myself as soon as I get the opportunity. And with that being said, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.